All right, yo, Eric, did you hear about this Kanye West thing? The whole Kanye West anti-Semitism thing?
Yes, I heard that he said a lot of things that conservatives loved,
Mhm.
and then he kept talking, and it might have made people feel a little uncomfortable.
It's for the people out there who don't know who we're talking about. Kanye West is a Grammy award-winning rapper, billionaire. He sells clothes, um, and Kanye West has been diagnosed with some mental health issues.
Hmm.
Now, it's different when you're rich and you have mental health issues because you can become as crazy as you want, and sometimes that those mental health issues actually make you a better artist, right? Because some of the best artists that we've ever had on the planet have had some type of mental health issue. Maybe it's just something that seems to accompany that type of artistic genius.
I
Would that
would
be fair to
argue,
say?
I would actually argue that some of that genius may be because of those issues,
Yeah.
and by that I mean you and I look at the world. I assume you're not crazy, right, Nate? Are you crazy? Do you have any
Oh,
issues?
it all depends on who you talk to.
Well, fair enough. Okay, but you and I look at the world with kind of the same perspective of most of the population. We
Yeah.
don't really deviate. When we see a scene, we see the same scene. Well, if we describe that, we're not creating anything artistic because it's just the same damn scene everybody else says. It's like, I what? It's a parked car. Who cares? Somebody who has issues or perspective that's different is going to see something different or see something within the scene that you and I don't naturally pick up. And I think of that as the cause of the art. It's just a perspective shift and allowing us to view the world through another lens of which we didn't have equipped.
Mm. Well, you know what? Just so the fans, everybody out there understands our position on cancel culture. Number one, we are very, 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 very much against canceling anyone off any
Yep.
platform. What we do appreciate is that obviously certain businesses have their rules to follow, but we are always for more speech in terms of we want to hear the hate speech. We want to hear the propaganda. We want to hear all that so we can make the decision for ourselves whether it's good. We feel like the government or any social media company shouldn't be filtering what I should hear as an adult to protect me from what they perceive as harm. Would you agree with that, Eric?
Yes. And you're probably a little friendlier to the quote business side than even I am.
Yes.
I'm I'm of the mindset, and we're not doing PayPal today, but we need to drag them anyway, just because I feel like it.
Hmm.
PayPal, your job is to transfer money between people, not to worry about what the hell people say. You make sure that the money is secure. You make sure that the money actually transfers. And what they say or how they act has zero effing relevance to you whatsoever.
Now, just
And
just just so everybody understands the reference Eric is making. PayPal changed their terms of service saying that they will fine people $2,500 for misinformation. They have now since retracted it a little bit and said it was kind of clunky, but they definitely said they were going to fine people $2,500 for misinformation, take essentially take the money out of your account. Go ahead, Eric. Sorry about that. Just wanted
no,
to
I
fill everybody
agree.
in, let everybody know where we're going.
And by the way, Chase, that's you too, because Chase did that
Yeah.
with Kanye. Now, one thing that I don't think people realize is that you're almost underselling when you say that he is a Grammy award winning artist, blah, blah, blah. I would say that Kanye West is a major, major cultural figure that is so important that he's not even a single name, he's a syllable.
Yeah.
He's Yay.
Yeah.
And that is saying something. Okay, there's not that many artists out there who are so big that they're just one name. If I say Kanye or Ye, very few people don't know who the hell I'm talking about. And that
Yes.
transcends basic fame. That starts to get into nosebleed territory.
Mhm.
And with that, the messages he puts out have a very real serious impact to a great number of people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I also think Kanye, or Yeezy or Yee, I I I think the problem is that he is suffering from mental health issues, and
Sure.
I think a lot of times the people on your team, when you're that big, are afraid to kind of tell you because they don't know how to react. So they kind of going away. Because don't forget, those people livelihoods, their families, all that depend on Ye keeping them employed. So if they say something that he doesn't like, even his crazy ass could fire them, right? To say, you know
Mhm.
what, I'm firing you today. So think about that. If your boss had these, because I believe he was diagnosed with bipolar. So just
Yes.
imagine they're having these huge mood swings, and one day they love what you do, the next day they hate what you do, and you're living on that knife's edge.
Mhm.
Wondering if he's going to fire you or wondering if he's going to keep you on. It's going to make you less likely to take a stand, right? Because you don't know which Kanye we're going to be speaking to today. So, you
There's an
know
irony to what you just said, though,
what?
because the part that made him a darling of the conservatives was that two things. And I'm not even going to say conservatives, I'll say MAGA wing. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, One, he liked Donald Trump, but what he came out with on his Tucker interviews, because this is what started the whole narrative going,
Hmm.
was talking about how there were handlers, those
Yeah.
same people you're talking about, but only these are handlers. And what was profound was he was saying that the handlers don't tell you what to think, they tell you what to fear. And that
Yeah.
was a significant statement. So I want to make sure that we get in all the good things he is saying with the bad, because
Hmm.
there, like everybody in the world, there's good and there's bad, and don't throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah.
It's a very important thing. But as you were just pointing out, people around can be yes men. People around can also be handlers. And it's a funny situation. He was describing how the handlers were on speed dial with the Clinton campaign, if you will, and talking
Mhm.
to his wife. So it's just an interesting scenario. So I don't know what a good answer is. I kind of feel like maybe we need to let both of them hang out on a desert island for a little while with nobody and work some stuff out.
Yep. You know what? At this point in time, though, let's do this. Let's hear the comments that have gotten everybody all riled up, and
Okay.
see what the hell Kanye's actually been saying. Because I think it's important sometimes to hear to hear what's going on, and then we can let the people know how we feel about it. But here is Kanye explaining himself to in an interview for about his anti-Semitic comment. This is a Tucker interview.
People, they're looking for an explanation, and people say, well, as an artist, you don't have to give an explanation, but as a leader, you do. So the answer to why I wrote White Lives Matter on a shirt is because they do. It's the obvious thing.
Shortly after Kanye West made headlines for wearing a White Lives Matter shirt at Paris Fashion Week, he's back in the hot seat, this time for sharing several posts that were deemed anti-Semitic.
I'm just extremely happy. Can you tell by my face?
On Sunday, the Grammy winner wrote on Instagram that he planned to go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, a comment that got his Instagram account restricted and post deleted. And Ye wasn't feeling it, logging onto Twitter to post for the first time in 2 years, claiming he's not anti-Semitic and calling out Instagram boss Mark Zuckerberg. Those posts were also later removed from Twitter due to a violation of the platform's policy.
So he's going deaf,
Yeah.
DEATH, not even DEFCON. Was it
Oh,
DEF? He's
yeah.
death, DEATH, DEFCON 3 on Jewish people.
Could that have been a spelling error? Like he was thinking DEF CON, but Death Con. Some people mix different concepts up.
Mhm. But so if you're out there saying kill all the blanks and you fill in the blanks, kill all these people, kill all these people,
Mhm.
that I think should be regulated in some way, right? Well, there's certain things you can say, right? And obviously context, I think, heavily matters. But now and I think you may disagree with this. I think removing those posts, if you're trying to have like a if your thing is having a civil conversation and you're saying I'm going to remove these posts because these posts, they're not helping any conversation. They're just attacking someone. That's it's time to go DEF CON on these group of people. I understand why you would remove those posts and warn that person to not say those things. But how do you feel about that? Because
I,
I know you're
I
more of an absolutist than I am.
okay. Well, first off, it depends. Like, Did he actually say kill all blank, quote unquote?
All right, so let's, instead of talking around it, let's read the exact tweet and we'll see how we can evaluate it.
Okay. I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going to go DEFCON 3.
Now, hold on. Earlier, you remember deaf, but you're saying that this could just be him spelling it death, but he really meant deaf, DEF.
Yes, and I think that a lot of people probably got mixed up, especially growing up during that age. I'm thinking as a kid, I might have thought it was DEFCON 3, but what end of the world doesn't mean life.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm not sure, and I'm not going to excuse it. He could have meant DEFCON versus DEFCON, but a lot of people, I think, might extrapolate it if they never really paid attention. They only heard it before. That's all.
Yeah, well, I would say if you're typing to see DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, just reading it is like, all right, maybe
I'm not saying
say, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've got it up there. Go and put us on screen. Let's talk, because
Okay, cool.
I think it's incredibly offensive. I think is anti-Semitic. I think he just stated something he feels, and he could say, I'm not anti-Semitic, but whatever. I think that that's an anti-Semitic remark. He's anti-Semitic, and it's ugly.
Oh yeah.
I do not think it should be taken down. And the reason why I don't think it should be taken down is, did you hear what Kanye said? No, he didn't say anything. There's nothing out there. What are you talking about? You're lying.
As a public record.
Yes, he said it. Let it be out there. It's his words. I mean, I want to know who is saying offensive shit. How about you?
Yeah, that's true. I would.
Well, don't I want the record to speak for themselves? Now, he did not make a call to action. That's why I said, did he actually say kill all blank? No, he didn't. He gave an abstract term. Like, what if I said I'm going to go DEFCON 3 on Walmart if they don't change their prices? What does that mean? I'm going to throw a tantrum. I'm going to get mad. I'm going to tweet storm. What does that mean? What is it actually saying? It's very vague. It's not a specific call to action. And that's why I'm kind of looking at it going, yeah, it's offensive as hell. And I think it should be out there. I think people should see he is posting some nasty shit about a group of people. That's wrong. But that to me is actual speech. That is speech. That is not straying out into a call for violence or call to action, anything. Did you see a single call to action in that?
No. But I think the distinction you're making is things that would be illegal in terms of criminal. Because if he's calling the action, we got to go, kill these group of people.
Then it's no longer speech.
That's criminal. That's criminal.
Right.
But I do think it doesn't, like, if the only bar is criminal matters, then yeah, I think you would see a lot of stuff just being left up. But I don't. A lot
of stuff should be left up. I want to know who the scumbags are. I want to know who bad people are. I want to see their record so I can point to them and say, "This is bad. Look at that. This is garbage."
No, well, I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is that I think there are two different criteria, because the issue that I generally have with Twitter and all these social media companies is that they don't, whatever rules you're going to have, as long as they're applied evenly and consistently across the platform, then it's fine, right? You can, because I'm on your platform, you tell me the rules, and as long as, but soon as you tell me, then the second piece I do have is that if you're saying that you're a free speech, or saying that this platform is to promote free speech, then it should be for free speech, and we need to know the contours. But I also think
they call themselves a public square.
Yes, and so I think with those type of things, I do agree. I think those are the biggest issues. But if the line from which you stay up and not stay up is the line of criminal versus civil, criminal action,
according
there are a lot
to
of bad things.
Country, because I'm not going to say in India they might have a different rule, or in Russia they might have a different rule, or somewhere
else. About here in the United
States, in the country. Well, I want to clarify, because I'm not trying to be unrealistic and say to take my culture of the United States and then shove it down another country's throat. That's wrong. So that's wrong, I do want to clarify that.
But I would say though, in this instance, there are things that are civilly that like, for instance, like defamation. Defamation is generally civilly. There is some criminal defamation, but civilly.
That's also not speech, in my opinion.
And defamation
Well, there you go.
and that wouldn't be considered speech. So now that's what I'm saying. So
Or protected speech is, I think, what you like to say.
yes, so that's what I'm saying. It's like, I think the criminal line is just is too far. I think maybe civil, whatever civilly would be actionable, maybe
Okay.
a better line to distinguish.
Oh, and I'm going with that too. I'm going with that too.
Would
I
that
don't
be-
consider defamation to be protected speech
Yeah, all right.
because you have now got, but he didn't defame anyone.
Oh no, I'm
He's
not
an
talking about.
ass.
I'm not
So
talking about,
that's
and that's. I'm not talking about. Well, let me
Right.
just be clarified. I'm not talking about Kanye's speech. I'm just talking about where we're saying the line should be in our aspirational, world, right? In the aspirational world,
Yes.
we're talking about things that are
Telling
civilly
lies about
actionable,
people is not speech.
civilly
Right.
actionable, and criminal. But
Yes.
now what he's saying, now we're saying what he's saying isn't civil actionable, isn't criminal. It's speech. It's offensive speech, but we're saying that it shouldn't rise to the level of cancellation. Would that
Look at
make
that.
sense?
Yes. So we agree with each other. Leave it up.
Yeah. Let's go back to finish it off. What's the rest?
All right. The funny thing is, I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew. Also, you guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who opposes your agenda. Okay, well, he sounds like a black Israelite, the same people who are harassing Nick Sandman.
Yeah.
Whatever. So that's his view. I find his view repugnant. I think disgusting. And I kind of had a feeling that it might be there. And by the way, Nate, I want this to be up because at the same time, there was a lot of people who were saying, yeah, Kanye, we love him now. We hated him before, but we love him now. We hated him when he painted pictures of Obama that were, deifying him, but we love him now because of a Tucker interview. Well, this is Kanye too. Okay. So if you're going to have a package, you got to eat your peas with your meat.
Yes.
Because you got to eat the whole damn meal. This is the whole damn meal. And I think that it should stay up. It's part of the conversation. We need to look at the entire message of somebody. We should not be editing a message to make it more family friendly or for one group or another, because it actually works against people who are trying to be critical of him, ironically.
Yeah. So, so it actually goes to the, I think the greater point is that because right now there's been this cheering section of, it's glad that Kanye has been erased from these platforms for saying this particular thing. And hold on. Let me ask my kids though. Can you hear my kids in the background?
Yeah.
Let me ask them to calm down.
Okay. Dina, wake up and make Greg a cappuccino.
With me, I'm a little conflicted about this because on one end, I'm just thinking about me owning my platform on YouTube. And I think it's like a microcosm of what you can say and what you can't say. So, like in my chat, if someone was to say something like that, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. I would remove them, right? Because I'm saying I don't want that type of speech on my platform. But then am I being a hypocrite?
No.
Because am I being a hypocrite? Because but I tell people ahead of time, these are speeches that I do not, you can't, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. So I don't want to say that I'm being a hypocrite by saying I believe Twitter should hold it up when I believe that on my channel, I wouldn't have, like when he says something like this, I'm going DEFCON 3 on anybody who says something like this. I would personally say that's not okay.
I would
being
too.
on my platform.
You know the difference, and you're missing the point.
Go ahead.
Your platform is your house. I'm talking about rules for the city.
Very great distinction. Very good distinction. But now, that would have to be the mission that Twitter is the city.
Yes, and they are.
Well, that's what they're fighting. That's what they're fighting.
They say they're
going
the
to
public
Supreme Court.
square. Well, because they want it both ways, and I don't like that bullshit.
Yeah.
They are the public square. They have said that they were the free speech platform. They've actually said this in the past. They want to tap dance around it. But I'm going to stand with that analogy. Your platform is your house, or your bar, or your business. And you could say, in my business, I choose not to associate. But Twitter has to be the city. You don't shut the power off because you don't like somebody's speech.
That's true. That's true. So, you know what? I'm going to throw it to you guys. There is a Supreme Court case that's coming down, Gonzalez versus Google, where they're addressing this particular point about whether these platforms can have it both ways. And what Eric is talking about in the legal context is simple. The platforms are saying that they are essentially are not publishers, meaning that they're not responsible for the speech on their platform. They regulate that speech on the platform, but they're not responsible. And in doing so, in this case, Google versus Gonzalez, that family, the person who you remember that incident, and there was a terrorist incident in France where this young woman Gonzalez was killed. And come to find out, the person who had done the crime was a big fan of YouTube. And what the person did was they clicked on one YouTube video, like jihadists, and then YouTube started sending them all these other content about jihad and ISIS and all that stuff, and the person became radicalized. But they directly point to the Google algorithm, kept presenting him more and more of these videos, and he
like training videos almost.
Exactly. So the Gonzalez family said, well, at that point, Google became the publisher, because it wasn't that someone was going to a public screen and looking for something. This was Google saying, this is what we want to show you. And that person started consuming that content because of Google. So they were saying the algorithm, by specifically pointing you to and only giving you certain content to watch, is actually publishing that content. And now they can't hide behind the whole free speech moniker that we're not responsible for the content. Well, you are responsible for the content that you're pushing in my face and you're telling me to watch.
They're only responsible for it because they selectively edit, because they selectively cancel things. They selectively do things. So they've been acting like a publisher in certain ways, but then, so they're trying to have it both ways. And I think that's where they're going to get burned on this, as they should. And by the way, you mentioned the algorithm. Do you remember a few years back that Microsoft created AI to go on Twitter? And they had
became
to
a
shut
racist.
it down. Yeah, I think it didn't even take a day before it became a full-on horrible racist. And then it was they had shut down the whole experiment. A similar thing, but I don't think you and I are that far apart. I know that we're a little bit apart, Nate. I'm getting you there, though. I'm eroding your will over time, and you'll come to my direction eventually.
To be honest with you, I think right now, I think we are at the same spot in the sense of this. The civil, civilly, whatever civil is not right. We all agree, right? We all agree where the line should be. It shouldn't be criminal. It should be more civil and above. But I also think the issue isn't where the line should be. It's how should we treat these platforms? Because you're under the impression that they should be treated like telephone companies, right? Like the power company, like the water company. Even if somebody's out there, if somebody's out there, and just so everybody understands, if the utility company's out there and for the KKK, they can't say, well, we're not going to send them water because they're KKK. We can't.
Or
we're not
shut off their phones, even though they're saying vile shit on the phone to each other, planning whatever they're doing on the phones. We're not telling Ma Bell or whomever. And yes, I'm old. Okay,
even
you can't use that.
Yeah, even if. Just to be clear, even if they are public, even though they're private companies. And the same thing, but now the argument is, has social media gotten to that part? Now, I do think there's a great argument for like Google and Facebook, because if 90, but like Justice Thomas said, for AT&T, remember back when matter of fact, go back to Microsoft. When Microsoft was doing the antitrust thing where they got caught up with so everybody, just a quick recap of the Microsoft antitrust. Before, to do a web browser, all the web browsers, there was individual companies. You had Netscape. You had all these individual
Netscape created it with Mozilla.
Yes. Then next thing you know, Microsoft, they saw Netscape was making all this money, having these interfaces. You had AOL, you had Netscape, and they had all these interfaces to web, essentially browsers for websites. Microsoft then jumped in and made Internet Explorer to kind of just and packaged it into Windows, so everybody got it for free, and that essentially destroyed.
They did more. They embedded it into the operating system where you could not even uninstall it. It was part of the operating system.
But you essentially were getting it for free, where before you had to pay for it from the third company, and that's what caused the whole antitrust thing. But in that case, the thing that got Microsoft in trouble was that when they were there, and one of the things they had the guy, the lawyer, he said, you know what, let's do this. Everybody in this room, raise your hand if you have a computer. So like the whole hand. And he said, put your hand down if it's not running Microsoft Windows. and like only 2 people put their hand down in a room, like
Yep.
100 people. And he said that is a monopoly. That's a monopoly, and that's the same thing with AT&T when they had the long distance. So like 90% of long distance, you had to use an AT&T line. So,
One
but
subtle distinction, though, Nate.
go ahead.
A monopoly is not illegal in of itself.
No.
It is
Correct.
when you work to maintain your monopoly and you squeeze people out using your monopoly powers. That's when
Yes.
it becomes illegal. From what I understand, I'm not the lawyer, but
No,
it's an
you're right.
important distinction with trust law,
Yeah,
because a
that's what-
natural monopoly can occur
Mhm.
and does often occur with different things. Just, well, this is the only market. Like, I don't know, maybe some kind of crazy horseradish sauce. There's just not enough market for anybody else to do it, so somebody owns the whole market.
Well, it's what the way it's called a natural monopoly versus a unnatural monopoly. A natural monopoly is because if I create a new product. Like if I'm the first person to create TVs, then I have a natural monopoly on TVs. You can only buy them from me. And it happens in drug cases all the time. When somebody brings
Sure.
you a new drug, you have a natural monopoly because you're the only person that can make that drug. So monopolies aren't bad things, but what is bad is that now we're talking about in this particular space, the problem with these type of monopolies is that you can have a monopoly that's so important to just the way we do things.
Yeah.
That even though it's a natural monopoly, they would still have to follow the Constitution. And it is a famous case called the city town or the company town, where
Yep.
they had a town that the town was actually owned by a company. It was a whole town. It was owned by a company. And the Jehovah's Witness went to that town and said, went in that town and started handing out leaflets.
Mhm.
And that town was like, you can't do that here. This the whole town is owned by the company. So she was like, well, hold on. I'm on a city street. There was no sign. I just kind of drove up the highway. And now you're telling me they were like, it's a company town. And they got that person arrested. But the Supreme Court came down and says, well, listen, even though you haven't done all these other things, right? This is a company town. You haven't done all these other things that would make you. But because of the nature of you have police force, you have this, people living here, and there's no distinction between this town and every other town. You, since you're acting in a traditional government function of running a town, then you have to give those people in that town the same protections as if you were the government, or turn over the city to the government and then let it run that way. And in that case, so that I think is weird, is what people are trying to get Twitter to be. That they're trying to say, hey, even though they may not be doing this, they may have a natural monopoly, but they've become so entwined in this governmental function, public square free speech, that now they should be held to the same criteria of free speech as the government would be. And if that was true, Kanye West tweets wouldn't be able to be removed because
Correct.
they would still be protected, but they wouldn't be like civilly, they wouldn't be criminal or civilly actionable.
Yes, Twitter and even more so Facebook and YouTube are results of the network effect.
Yes.
And there's a certain point where are you going to go but Facebook? Now, Facebook is dying. Okay, it is dying. It's slowly. But the point is everybody's families are on Facebook for the most part. I'm sure there are exceptions out there. Go ahead and let me know. But if your family's on Facebook and you say, well, I'm going to go to Umpty Squat, that's a competing service, nobody's there. And I get tired of hearing the whole, just build your own. And then as soon as you do, like Parler, you'll get shut down from the monopolies, by the way, because that's exactly what I feel they were doing, is working together in conjunction behind closed doors to shut down the finances or whatever to bring down a competing service. So this is why I'm saying that there's a certain point where your business can be considered a private business, but if it grows to such a scale, and this goes all the way back to Standard Oil and things like that, there were competitors, but then all of a sudden they owned all the train lines, all the pipes, everything else. Nobody could squeeze into the market because the market was completely saturated and owned by one particular group. So now once it's owned by a particular group or whatever, like phone lines, we'll go right back to that one. All phone lines had to be put in and infrastructure had to be built. And in order to do that, you kind of had to have a monopoly. But how's somebody going to go in and say, well, I'm going to start my own phone company? Where are you going to send the signal?
Yeah.
Are you going to build all new phone lines, tear up every street and everything else? No, you cannot do that. This is a similar principle. So they have managed through goodwill, whatever you want, but they've managed to grow themselves to the point that they are beyond just a private company, that they are now a public concern. And then when they label themselves a public square or a public concern, and they take advantage of that this is where it's happening, this is where all the reporters are, think of it on Twitter. Twitter is much smaller than Facebook and
Oh, yeah.
YouTube, but the influence they have for such a small group is profound because all journalists are on Twitter. That's where they get stories. That's where communication happens. The politicians are all on Twitter. So Twitter is made up of a much smaller number of people, but the people whom are on the platform are decision makers and influencers that shape the narrative all around. That's number one. Number two, in my opinion, there's not a problem. The tools are already in place. If you don't like a damn message, block it. Only messages you're going to see are those you follow. So I challenge everybody, go ahead and create a Twitter account. I bet you can create a Twitter account right now and you can make it as peaceful and happy as Disneyland just by being selective in who you follow. If you only follow accounts with puppies and kittens, you're not going to get many messages coming through. The only time you will see it is if one of the puppy or kitten accounts retweet something that might be offensive to you, and then you have a tool on hand called blocking, and you don't ever have to see it.
Mhm.
That's my stance. Love to hear down below. What do you think? Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Good ended.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. No. I think that's it. And then we should have like maybe a screen or something that closes it out. Like boom.